It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of performance.
He's in 2 in a row. 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front Curry strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has homer. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
To begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And the Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy that teaches.
Up, Rally Tout fam. Good evening. Welcome to the show. We are officially at NFL Wild Card Weekend.
Let's go,
baby. Should be a fun slate of games this weekend. We had a lot of drama last week. We'll get into it. But first and foremost, gentlemen, hello. Welcome to football. How's everybody doing
on, guys?
I'm glad to be here. I wish we had more of the panel involved, with their teams in the playoffs, and it'd make it a little more interesting and more fun. Bobby almost got in there. With the Steelers.
We were pulling for the Jets to come back and win that football game, but crazy end of that Miami game with no touchdown scored. So
yeah, absolutely insane ending to that football game. Also, a bad beat. We had a bad beat on that game. I had the Jets plus 3.5. Obviously, they were down 3 and got a safety to lose the game by 5. Terrible beat. Fuck you, New York
actually
Jets.
saw that in the dictionary. That was the definition of a bad beat. That example.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you're trusting Joe Flacco to get you a little Skrilla.
Just trusted him to not lose by more than 3.
So I was protected there, but it was the Cowboys just completely shitting the bed. That's what did it for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could totally bank on a last minute safety, So I should have teased it out there. No.
Can you imagine if you actually played that live bet, like safety on like calling the next play and hit that?
I don't know any sports book that's putting that up, but if they did, that person is a very rich human.
Right. All right. Well, first things first, we need to recap the yearly regular season pick'em. There is a clear and definitive champion here, chat. There's quite a few of us that aren't exactly pleased, but
quite a few of us being everyone except for the person that won.
Yes. Mr. Corey James, congratulations on a dominant season. Ended with a 5-game lead at 170-84. For those of you playing along, we missed week 1, so week 1's not included in this. I know there's another week of picks that we didn't do. So if anybody out there is doing the math, we didn't do week 1, but we're every week after.
First of all, if anybody comes back and is like, that doesn't add up, Bob, first of all, thank you for being such an astute listener, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Like, these guys are about 16 games up, I think, here, Bill.
Those numbers add up. A lot of ties.
Aaron swung for the fences and swung himself right out of second place.
I didn't want to be in second place.
Well, not only second place, third place.
I know. Second, third, and fourth were all the same to me.
Todd and I tied at 165 and 89, and then Aaron at 163 and 91.
Feels all the same.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Is there still the same punishment now? Aaron has to cook his dinner. Is that
Jesus? There's a lot. That's a lot of windshield time, fellas. We got to make a trip from Columbus. Well, I guess for Corey, it's the worst. You win, and then you're spending at least 5 hours of windshield time now.
So what I'm thinking is just that we do one meetup, and Aaron and Bobby just cook the meal together. And we do 2 birds.
Kitchen, boys.
Maybe somebody does breakfast and somebody does dinner.
Oh, I'm digging it. And then we can roll it into the Rally Towel Sports Open coming this summer. News to be delivered there.
Right.
Let's do it.
So either way, Todd, I don't think we need to do a tiebreaker for second place because I don't think either me or you care to be in second. We want
mud wrestling.
That's first loser. So
yeah, I'm not going to fight you for it. All right. I mean, last week obviously had some crazy implications. Corey mentioned it. Steelers needed some help to get in. Obviously, they got that with the Bills beating the Patriots, which wasn't really a shock to anybody. Man, they came out with a lot of energy in that game, though. Started off with a kick return touchdown. I think each half started with a kick return touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Lot of noise about that being like set up. There's a lot of conspiracy on social media. Obviously, I'm not agreeing to it or anything, but there's a lot of noise about it, about like kicker's not even trying. The whole team comes to the middle. There are a lot of people that looking for an opportunity to point that out as a conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're going to have your conspiracy theorists in every facet of life. I don't think that was it. But Todd, give me your biggest surprise of the last week.
The Cowboys losing to the Commanders and getting that ass beat. It wasn't just an L. They had zero control the entire game. And I'll throw this out here early because we're going to get into the actual playoff game here. Just a Mike McCarthy special at the end of the season. Just absolutely shit in the bed all over Washington, D.C. I mean, shocker. Everybody's surprised that the offense in Dallas is struggling. Who would have thought?
Yeah, no, it was not a good showing for them going into the playoffs. Typically their trend this season is when they lose, they come back and win the next game. So, there's Cowboys fans are clinging on to that. But Aaron, how about you, man? Outside of obviously the Cowboys' complete disaster, what was your biggest take from this week?
Yeah, so mine also, I mean, obviously would be the Cowboys as well, but my biggest surprise is Lovie Smith just giving no fucks on his way out. Like, take the if you're going to fire
Good
me.
for Lovie Smith.
Good for Lovie Smith.
Is that why he got fired?
No, but here's the thing. I think
that's the cherry on the sundae, though, right?
I think he knew he wasn't going to be retained.
Yeah.
So going into that game, I don't think that's the reason he was fired. So he kind of didn't have any motivation to not win that. And I even said that when we were previewing picks for last week, was if this is the only way I can make this game exciting, is the fact that, if the Bears lose and the Texans win, who we had picked, that's a shuffle for the first overall pick. And we ended up getting it.
Yeah. No, that was great. I mean, I don't think Lovie Smith had a lot to work with this season. I think he's getting the shit into the stick here, but
not a hot take, just facts.
That last drive they completed 4th and 21, 4th and 10, and 4th and 21.
Davis Mills dropping dimes too. Daddy Longneck throwing the hammer on a stout Colts defense.
Right. Corey, I got a feeling I know where you're going with this, but what was the most fun thing you saw this weekend?
Well,
outside of the Bengals making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously was pretty fun for me, but I think the craziest part was me being right about the Broncos beating the Chargers.
Vegas knew. We said it.
Vegas knew, and it's the third time that I've gone against my instinct and just followed house money and took Vegas. Obviously I've referenced Cowboys, Vikings, Cowboys, Eagles, and now this time Broncos over Chargers. They were favored. I had no fucking clue why, and just rode with them and came out on top. And it was, let's ride. It was fantastic. I don't understand it, but
see, that's one of those games that if we looked at it before, don't look at the betting lines at all. Just straight up who you got. And you have
Chargers.
No knowledge of exactly.
Yeah,
that's what we kept saying last week was I don't know why Vegas is doing this, but of course Vegas is right.
Right, absolutely. I think for me, it was Lions Packers game.
That was awesome.
I don't know if I was more excited about that. I've never been more excited about a first quarter coach interview than when I saw Dan Campbell on the sidelines. Taking that shit seriously. It's like, we're not in, but we're gonna make sure that they don't get in.
Yeah,
like you saw it, and you fucking believed it, and you're watching that game.
And now, as a player on that team, how jacked up are you to come back next year to go?
Hell yeah! And I think the thing for me about that game, pre-game, post-game, was Jamal Williams' post-game interview because of how fucking serious he takes being on the Lions. And I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, he broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record in that game with 17 touchdowns on the season. That's a huge deal. That's an all-time Lion, and you're coming in as the third down back, second string back, whatever you want to talk about. And you're breaking records in the city, and you're coming up on a contract year. And I mean, I work with a Lions fan, and he's screaming like, you got to figure out a way to get this guy back in Detroit. And sure. I think the consensus is that he's willing to take a little less to stay, because I think Dan Campbell and the culture he's built, the foundation gives Jamal Williams a safe space to be Jamal Williams, because we all know he's an eccentric guy, right? He's just a little bit different. He's, he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, but Dan Campbell lets him do that. And it's made him he's the leader of that team.
I agree.
On the field.
I 100% agree. And I think he started the season kind of in that third down back spectrum, and then due to injury, opportunity came up and he took the most of it. And, even with DeAndre Swift being fully healthy, Jamal Williams is getting the lion's share of the carries, and he's, taking up that opportunity. And to do it against Green Bay is just got to be that much better for a guy, obviously Jamal Williams, coming to the Lions from the Packers. And that's just got to feel so good for him. And completely very, very weird dude, but in a good way. I think a magnetic personality. The camera loves him. The post-game interview loves him. The locker room interview loves him. The people of Detroit obviously love him. So I think, being in his position and not like not a blue chip running back, I think you're right, Todd. I think he would be kind of in a position to be like, I'll take a 4-year deal for less money to be in an organization that I'm comfortable in. I know I'm going to get my opportunity to be, who I am. In other places, he'll probably get overshadowed. They'll look at him as a side dish to the entree, if you will.
Right.
And here in Detroit, I think he's got everything in front of him to be that guy, particularly if DeAndre Swift can't stay on the field. So great win for the Lions. I think they took it personally. I think all the disrespect that the Packers, particularly Aaron Rodgers, which we can get to that later if we want, but have thrown to the city of Detroit, not just Detroit, but I think the Bears get a little bit of it too, obviously. But just the disrespect that he has put to those two organizations, and for them to sweep him this year just has to make it that much sweeter. And like you said, Lions are going to be, riding a lot of energy coming into next season.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jamal Williams asked Aaron Rodgers for his jersey after the game, and he's like, "I think I'm going to keep this."
Jamison Williams.
Williams. Excuse me. I mean,
get out of here, Rook.
Do you think it's Aaron Rodgers' last game in Green Bay?
No. He signed so much money.
I believe I saw somewhere it's a $99 million cap hit if he doesn't play next year.
Yeah.
So
a lot.
He'll be there.
So I think he comes back next year no matter what, right? Yep. Because it's damn near $100 million for him to not play for the Packers, and then the following years gets a little less egregious or a little less, astounding to them. So I think he comes back for next year. I think you'd look at the Packers going into that game, and they were what, 6 in a row, right? 5 in a row. Something like that. Yeah,
I don't know off the top of my head, but something around those lines.
And this is obviously Aaron Rodgers is what he is. He's a guy that's going to land in Canton, but with a kind of a ragtag group of receivers, and by the end of the year, they had kind of created some chemistry. So I don't think he wants to give up on that specifically just yet either. And Green Bay obviously will never take a wide receiver in the first round ever in the history of time. But there's enough talent that falls into the second and third round, specifically at the wide receiver position, where you're not requiring a ton of depth, that you can get one more guy and kind of complete it for Aaron Rodgers. And I think, he sticks around for 2 more years. So
they had won 4 straight going into that game. Mystery
4 straight.
Sorry. Comment here. To be honest, every team should be built like this. And built like the Lions, I take it. And I mean, the Lions, I think top down right now, they're becoming one of the most complete teams out there. Very, very, not, I wouldn't say quietly, but, at least a little bit under the radar. I mean, this still is the Lions. They're not, they don't get the national platform like a lot of teams do. And I think Dan Campbell's the guy to lead that charge, and they're going to be scary. They're going to be scary next year.
Right. And don't forget that there's 2 first-round picks heading to Detroit as well, unless they unless they elect to trade one of these picks, where I don't see them doing that.
They have 5 of the first 85 picks.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's
I
ridiculous.
mean, those are
So much talent.
At least 3 of those 5 pieces fits into a day one or game one roster somewhere.
And I'm all about that, man. I can't wait. Like, that's the cool part about the NFL is like being a Bengals fan. I only see the Lions 1 out of every 4 years. I can root for them in essentially 16 games out of the year, or 17 games out of the year every 3 years, and then 16 games out of the year every 4 years. You know what I mean? So it's a situation that I think a lot of people can get behind. But to the Aaron Rodgers thing, just to kind of get back to that, like,
yeah, Mike said round it off to 100 mil.
yeah, I mean, this is exactly what he does, man. He is such a fucking prima donna, and I know that I've done a complete 180 as to where I was like week 8 of last season. You heard me on this program kind of like backing Aaron Rodgers and like his ability to go get the contract, because I'm pretty player focused in terms of that. Like, I'm usually on the side of the players, and like Lamar, I'm on his side right now. Like, I understand that. We'll get to that later, but this is just like the whole Randall Cobb thing, walking down the tunnel with Randall Cobb at the end of the game, and pushing the camera out of the way. We're just, I'm going to keep this jersey. Now I'm going to hang on to this one. It's all fucking, it's like fluffing Pat McAfee's show is what it's doing. Like,
yeah,
he's just adding a reason for us to want to really tune in to Pat McAfee's program next Tuesday.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good way to look at it. I mean, you guys are right. I mean, I don't think there's any way he doesn't play, but I don't know. Stranger shit's happen.
He Genghis Khan the Packers, right? I mean, he pillaged the entire Packers, all of the funding that they had for the rest of their roster, and he took it
Prima Nocta,
right? I mean, that's basically what he did. I mean, he took every asset that you have available and said, "Put it in my pocket if you think you want to win." And then you don't make it to the playoffs, or last year when the contract was signed, you don't make it to the Super Bowl, and you have the best record in the NFC.
You don't win a playoff game.
Yeah. So I think people are just tired of, at least a lot of non-Packers fans are just tired of the Aaron Rodgers spiel, this back and forth with him that we've dealt with for the last like 4 or 5 years. I'm just sick of the dude being around and making headlines.
Yep.
Sure.
Just be quiet.
Yeah. Mystery said every player should get everything they can get. Aaron fades. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I think there's really not much more to talk about there.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him going out and getting paid. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the Packers are the ones that allowed him to take every asset that you have available. At least take all your money.
Crazy to see how quick of a decline from past 2 MVPs to what we've seen from this season.
Yep.
If we see Tom Brady obviously playing into the age that he is, and we think everyone else can do that, and it's just he's the exception. And Aaron Rodgers just fell off a cliff.
Speaking of Tom Brady, I saw a statistic the other day. I sent it to Todd and Bobby because we're friends on TikTok. But since Tom Brady has turned 40, he has more yards and touchdowns, playoff wins, and Super Bowl wins than Patrick Mahomes. Since he has turned 40, he has those more than Patrick Mahomes, which is
essentially
just
the same time frame. I think it's 5 or 6 years, but
crazy. Judging in the same time. Yeah, it's insane. But Carl, thanks for liking the video, man. Another quick note: Alan Lazard is not going to be a Packer next year.
No. Yeah.
That core that they have built in the post. Yeah, in the post game interview at his locker, he's like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going to be, but I'm not worried about what Aaron Rodgers is doing because I'm not going to fucking be here. So he's like, I don't know what to tell you.
Good for him, though.
He wants to get out. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for him.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
He could be a nice little pickup somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely not a one. That's a good deep threat for a lot of teams around the NFL.
Seems like a Raven.
Yeah. That feels comfortable there.
Seems like a Raven.
Accurate. That sounds so accurate.
Yeah.
Well, we'll obviously see how that plays out. All right, boys. Well, let's get into it. Not obviously our regular slate. It is wild card weekend. It's exciting. Playoff football.
Wait, it's what?
Wild card weekend. Hey! All right. So we got a couple games on Saturday and the rest of the slate on Sunday. Starting off the weekend, we have my favorite coach in the NFL, Pete Carroll,
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year. Headed to the Bay Area to take on the San Francisco 49ers and to get his cheeks clapped. Who would like to lead this one off? Aaron, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I mean, I think I can make quick use of the pick here, but I'm obviously going to take the 49ers. Brock Purdy has really just shown that, or I guess I should say Kyle Shanahan has shown he can take any quarterback and win, really is the right way to state that, because you haven't really seen some of these guys succeed elsewhere. But it's been really, really fun to see for Mr. Irrelevant to become as relevant as he has. The one thing that kind of stinks is, and don't get me wrong, I think the Seahawks have been a great story all year, but you can even say it on the AFC side too. I really wish this was the Lions, and I kind of do wish it was the Steelers, only for the sake of, the Dolphins are on a third string quarterback. It'd be more exciting to see a team at least playing a guy that intended to play this year. And then on the NFC side, just the way that the Lions were playing leading up to the end of this season. If this was Lions 49ers, this would have been a fucking banger.
It also wouldn't be the first playoff game if it was Lions and 49ers.
Well, 100%. Yeah, it's odd to have a fully West Coast game chalked up front. You know what I mean? They usually get if it's good, they're going to throw them in the PM slot. But anyways, I digress. I think the 49ers win this game handily. I think Shanahan is I think has a chance to get this team to the Super Bowl again. In fact, I had the 49ers at the beginning of the year to be in the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, I thought Trey Lance would be a part of that. But again, I always think Kyle Shanahan is underrated as a coach, even though we talk about him all the time.
Yeah. Mystery coming in with a comment here. Pete is playing a different game than the rest of us. He bet 100% on Geno and the offense he always wanted to run with an accurate quarterback. You got to give it up to Geno Smith this season. Geno Smith had a great season. Obviously broke Russell Wilson's, franchise record for, was it passing yards in a season? Wow. That I saw. I don't know if he did it with touchdowns, but I know he did it with passing yards. And Geno Smith kind of, comeback player of the year vibes. I know he wasn't, hurt, but he had a great season, for not necessarily being slated as the starter going into last season. So, not
even the starter going into August, right?
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is I don't know where he's coming back from. This is the first time I've ever really seen him.
Well, yeah. I mean, Geno coming out of, let's not forget, like Geno Smith coming out of college was up until probably, I don't know, the night before the draft, everyone was pretty sure that Geno Smith was going to be the first person off the board. Yeah. Obviously, he slid a long way and went to New York. Not a great situation there. We haven't really seen any rookie quarterbacks flourish at the Jets. Then the locker room situation happened where he had his jaw broke. Then I think he bounced to the Chargers and the Giants and found his way out to Seattle, where finally got his opportunity again. So it's really been ever since that incident at the Jets, there just hasn't really been a team that's needed or allowed an opportunity for him. And so now he's got this opportunity. We're kind of like, oh shit, that's right. Geno Smith was a halfway decent quarterback when he was playing. Right. Turn the ball over, I think, a little bit too much in his, first couple of seasons. That's pretty normal for a rookie. But yeah, I mean, I think he has to be comeback player of the year. I don't know a single other person that is maybe Christian McCaffrey might, just due to injury, might kind of be in that. Just kind of talking about the same teams here, but I don't really know what the odds on favorites are.
Typically for the NFL, as opposed to in the NBA where it's most improved player. If it was most improved player, I'd 100% agree that Geno Smith deserves that title. The NFL just doesn't grade it that way. It's usually just somebody who came back from injury. So McCaffrey probably is a good candidate. I'm trying to think of.
It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see them now. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really too certain.
I'm drawing some blanks there. Mike coming in with the comments saying it's going to be a great weekend of football. We're super excited. Mystery saying the Niners are the second best team in the NFL.
Who's the best?
Yeah, who's
I
the
wanna
best?
know.
I think we all know where Mystery's going with this one. But Todd, who do you got this weekend? Niners, Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners. I don't really have anything of value to add here, other than
Cool.
it's there's nothing better than turning on your TV at 3:00 and just getting a face full of NFL and getting a whole long weekend of it. So it's not a one I would normally say I'd be excited to watch, but I'm just excited to playoff football's here.
Yeah, this
Absolutely.
is the game that you have on and you fold laundry to. You get some stuff done. So
I'm going to take down Christmas decorations. Yeah. Exactly. 100%.
But it's on.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're gonna be watching it a little bit. Corey, Niners, I take it.
Yeah, taking the Niners. Take Christian McCaffrey as an anytime touchdown scorer. It's an easy bet. Take it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much of anything to add to this one. We all have the Niners. Now moving on to the Saturday night game. This one should be a good game. Or at least I'm hoping it will be. We all saw how the national championship went, so that was a fucking shit show.
Before we get into this game, if there's any testament that they needed to extend the college football playoffs, Monday night was it.
It was atrocious. I turned it off at halftime. I would sleep.
So your argument behind that being the semifinals were so good, yet there's such a disparity between you think Michigan and TCU would have given us a better game?
No. So here's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry. Michigan and Georgia would have given us a better game?
No, not necessarily. I'm not saying that. So what I'm saying is that we've watched enough football in our lifetime to know that any team can come out and beat the better team one time to get to the next game, right? And if you extend that, right? So say it's 12 teams now, right? That's what they're moving forward with is 12.
Yeah.
So now you have to win at least 2 times to get to the next game, to get to the big game, right? So a fluke can happen anytime in NFL or college football. But here's the thing is if TCU's playing Penn State first, right?
Tennessee.
Something. I don't even know if they move forward past that first game, right? And then you're talking about Tennessee playing Michigan. And then that, to me, turns into Michigan beating Tennessee, something along those lines where I think that I'm just throwing out hypotheticals here, right?
I know.
But I just think that if there was a testament that what they're doing is right by expanding, this was the game because we saw the national championship last Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And we saw the better games last Saturday.
Talking about Ohio State, Georgia.
Sure.
Was the national championship. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that game was exactly what you set out a national championship to be.
Ohio State had the only offense that could compete with that defense.
Oh,
right.
Sure.
That was the only offense.
I mean, if Ohio beats Georgia, Ohio State's national champion, I don't think anybody questions that.
Oh, I think they would have just pistol whipped TCU.
Right. It wouldn't have been 65-7, but it still would have been a swift kick in the
It was a lot more than I mean, don't get me wrong. I told you guys I thought it was going to be a boat race, but
a lot more than you thought
it was going to be that.
I knew it was
a bunch of you guys included. I saw a bunch of people like, "Oh, that 13.5 is interesting," and I was like, "I don't think so, man."
I knew it as soon as. So what?
I took the alternate spread at plus 20.5, and I was still way.
I really
wrong.
wish I just don't. I don't watch enough college football, so I wasn't going to put
either.
money on it. I just had them in a money line already with like 4 other legs that already hit. So I was like, this is good enough for me. I just need Georgia to win by 1. I'm pretty confident in that.
Brian, thanks for liking the stream, buddy.
Let's get back on track here, Mystery. Thanks for pulling the reins back in here. Asking us what our upset predictions are. Got the Jags to upset the Chargers, thinking they have the coach that can see them through the first round. It does bring us to our next game, Chargers on the road in Jacksonville. Aaron, who do you got?
Yeah, man, I'm really happy about the Jags. I'm obviously thank you.
You're
guys
also wearing a sweet
jersey. Appreciate it. Mark Brunell, my boy. Very happy for the the Jaguars to, make the playoffs this year. What's interesting about it is any other game, I'm probably picking against either of these two because it's quarterback's first time in the playoffs, right? It's just an easy fade when you're kind of on the fence. I'll take the quarterback with more playoff experience. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to tell you about this one, boys. We're going to see some guys crack some eggs and put some omelets together and see what the hell comes out in the wash. But I understand the irony here of me wearing a Jaguars jersey and taking the Chargers. But I think I just give the Chargers the edge because I think I have the better overall roster. I've seen Herbert play in more big time games, if that makes sense, just because the Chargers have gotten a lot of primetime love. Obviously, those games against the Chiefs are always going to be, a lot of viewers to have just because it's, high profile between Herbert and Mahomes. And I'm going to take the Chargers with that. Counter for the Jags is Doug Peterson obviously has more playoff success.
Sure.
I'm going to give the Chargers just the snib of an edge.
Okay. I mean, Vegas would agree with you. Chanel coming in with a comment saying that the Jags defense was the main reason they won last week. Wouldn't really necessarily disagree with you. I think they played outstanding football last week. Corey, who do you have?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I think, Chanel, appreciate you dropping by and contributing that. I think they had a pretty easy task in terms of defense that week. Did the Jaguars? The Tennessee offense isn't necessarily producing like they used to in years past, but nonetheless, they held their own. A division rival is never easy to beat, especially with that much on the line. You've got a coach like Mike Vrabel that's been there before, that's won that division multiple years in a row. So a great job for the Jags to stay that off. The thing I'm worried about for the Chargers, Mike Williams, is he going to be 100% healthy? I'm not sure if he even practiced today. That's a huge question for that offense, for that Chargers offense, if he's not there. I think he is their best receiver. I think we're all willing to say that at this point. I know a couple of years ago, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who's the real number one there. I think Mike Williams has pretty much demonstrated that he is him. But I'm going to take the Jaguars in this one. You're going to have 75,000 plus just screaming their fucking heads off there in Duval. And I think the Jags are going to get hyped for it. I think that the fact that they are on a full week's rest, the Chargers are not. They are traveling across the coast. That there's going to be something in there. And I just like the home team, and I like Trevor. I like Trevor. He's been playing great football over the last 5 weeks. I'm taking the Jags, man.
Absolutely. Mystery coming in with a comment. Who believes the Chargers medical staff? Ouch.
Earned. That comment is earned.
Yeah, that's damn. Just talk about putting somebody on blast. All right, Todd. Chargers, Jags.
Here's the thing: you're talking about a defense and the Chargers that just gets wrecked on the front seven, right? Ton of yards on the ground. You got young legs in Travis Etienne Jr., who's shown that he has the ability to get to 100-yard games. And I think that's where Jacksonville eats in the first half. And I think that they take the lead in the first half and they don't give it up because the Chargers don't have the ability, as I've said before about Justin Herbert, he doesn't have the ability to consistently get the ball to the end zone. That's been my biggest gripe about Justin Herbert in tough situations is that he doesn't it seems almost like there's a fucking brick wall in front of the end zone for him, and he just can't get to 6. And I think Trevor Lawrence has the ability to do that. He's shown that in multiple games. He had 2 comebacks against 2 other teams that are in the playoffs, and those were led directly by him, right? Talking about the Ravens and the Cowboys. And I think he has the ability to take over a game. I think he's shown that this year. And obviously we're in year 2 and there's still some question marks on consistency of decision-making here. But, I'm with Corey. I think they get into Jacksonville and you get a bunch of Floridians together talking football. It's scary. It's scary for anybody to walk into a stadium in Florida and try to hear anything except for all the hoots of the Bayou.
And you've got a nice in Jacksonville. You got that nice mix of Southern Georgian as well as Floridian mixed in there, and that is just a fucking.
And they're
cocktail.
still riding high from the national championship.
Dude, they're feeling good. They're feeling good.
Yeah, so I'm taking the Jags, fellas. Vegas is leaning towards the Chargers here, but I just don't feel it. There's something that tells me that Trevor Lawrence is going to take over this game, and it's gonna be a Trevor Lawrence win.
Yeah. So Todd, I know you know Ben. He will be flying into Jacksonville for this game. He got
good for him.
So,
he hasn't gotten that opportunity very much in his lifetime.
No, yeah, he's not the type to miss it. But no, I completely agree with you guys. I think this is one where Vegas is going to be wrong. I think Jacksonville is riding a lot of momentum coming in. The Chargers, they haven't shown me enough, in the last couple of weeks of the season that they're even ready for this moment. A road game in the playoffs. I'm going to take the team that is more put together at this point in time, and that's the Jags. And I think the Chargers have a quick one and done, and they're going to be having some questions in the offseason about how they're going to move forward.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say with the Jags, I think they're with the Jags. I think they're, there's a reason that this is such a close spread game. The Jaguars' last 5 games outside of the Cowboys, which was a win, they won 5 to get in, but it was Titans, Cowboys, Jets, Texans, Titans. And those aren't exactly teams to me that scream, big challenges in the NFL outside of the Cowboys, but even then they've had their struggles as well.
Right.
And listen, the Jaguars struggled against Dobbs, who was started this year on the practice squad. And when I say struggle, obviously, they should have been able to win that game handily, and it kind of took a defensive touchdown at the end. So yes, they're winning, but it's the opponents that they're playing against that caused me a little concern.
Sure. So I think you can say that exact same thing for the Chargers, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last 7 games: Cardinals, Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Colts, Rams, Broncos. You lose to the Broncos in Week 18.
Mm-hmm.
I think we said that when we were talking about the midway point of who's going to sneak in to the playoffs, or who has the kind of the easiest schedule to get there. And I think all 4 of us agreed, or maybe 3/4 of us agreed, that the Chargers really had the easiest schedule of the AFC to get into the wild card spot. So I think the argument's it sits on both sides of what you're saying there. I hear you on that, but I just
if I had to pick, I think Chargers had the easier schedule.
I don't know. I think it's like comparing apples and oranges. Right?
The Chargers play in the AFC West, so there's something to be said about that.
This is definitely the game on Saturday or Sunday that I would predict has the most volatility to it.
Yeah.
I could see it going 300 different ways.
So, and Aaron, maybe you can find it. I've been sitting here trying to find where the money's flowing right now. I did see 63% of the bets were on the Chargers, but that, as we've notated a couple of times in this podcast, percentage of bets or volume bets isn't necessarily what you're going to be wanting to look at. What you're going to be wanting to look at is actual money. How much money has been, where the money goes. And when people say follow the money, they're not necessarily talking about volume bets. Don't move lines, guys.
Right.
Volume bets don't move lines. Money bets move lines.
On the spread, it's pretty split. It's Jacksonville's getting 40% of the bets, but 44% of the money. So it's not.
What about money line?
On the money line, yes, you are correct. But that's also because you're getting plus odds. If you're going to bet this game, I'm not too worried about 2
I just
points.
tried to drink a beer that wasn't open, guys.
You do see this on inside of 3. Because are you really worried about 2 points at the end of the day? If you're betting the Jaguars in this game, you think they're going to win. I don't need those 2 points. Give me the better odds.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a nice 6-leg parlay on the picks this weekend.
Bobby's hoping to go 6-0.
All money line, obviously.
I'm going undefeated this whole playoffs, guys. I'm just letting you know. So
love it. Love that fucking BDE that's coming in here right now, dude.
The Stones and the Mark Brunell jersey.
You get this guy a fucking Mark Brunell jersey. He just fucking turns into Steve Austin. Just fucking
Stan Marsh.
What?
All right. Moving on to the first game on Sunday. That's about how I picture this going. We got the third string quarterback leading the Dolphins into Buffalo.
Sucks
to take on the Buffalo Bills.
It really sucks that we're gonna watch Skylar Thompson have to go up against Josh Allen.
Or we're gonna watch the creation of the next Tom Brady. Is what we're gonna watch right here. This is what's gonna happen.
No, I thought you were gonna say Mike Glennon's gonna actually get the start on Sunday.
The rookie coming in the playoffs to lead a team. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, guys. This is Georgia TCU all over again.
Yeah. And this will be. I don't think Buffalo slows down on Miami. That's the thing, that the exclamation point on this game is that Buffalo's just going to go in and just hammer them over and over and over and over and just put the exclamation point on this series and make sure it ends 2-1 to Buffalo's favor to show that first win against Buffalo was a fluke.
A thing to note, the Bills fans will not have snowballs to throw at the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins might have a little bit of an edge here. Just keep that in mind.
I did see a stat. The last 7 times the Dolphins have gone on the road to a game that starts at a sub 40-degree temperature, they are 0-7.
Yeah. Also, no Tua and Raheem Mostert on that offense. So
it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah. So I think something interesting that's come from the end of the Dolphins season, I want to hear your guys' opinion on it too, is I've been hearing a lot of floating around of Mike McCarthy's job being in question.
Mike McCarthy or Mike McDaniel?
I'm sorry, Mike McDaniel, excuse me.
No.
A lot of people questioning Mike McDaniel's future in Miami just based on the demise of the second half of the season.
I mean,
and that being reality of him being a head coach.
I don't think that's fair. He's had to deal with a lot of adversity this season, especially, surrounding Tua and inconsistency.
And also their owner got suspended a whole year. So,
right.
Yeah, but the owner isn't executing on the field.
Sure.
Plays
sure. I guess I'm just saying that there was a lot more going on in Miami than.
I think what you really see here is the lack of depth that Miami has, if something hits the fan.
It's a good point.
They're not, like Tua going out, it completely just turns the team upside down.
Yeah.
Any team that's got an opportunity to go deep into the playoffs needs to have at least a decent backup quarterback that can come in and manage the game. Look at the 49ers.
Well, I think they're an outlier though, Bob. I don't think that they're like the Bills don't have that. The Bengals don't have that. The Chiefs don't have that. I just mentioned 3 of the top 4 teams in the NFL. Like they don't. There's not that guy. Like Gardner Minshew is not leading the Eagles into a playoff run. He went 0-2. Like it's just not going to happen. But what I'm really seeing, and the reason why I find that point interesting, Todd, is because that front office invested a fuck ton of money into that roster this offseason. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, obviously Bradley Chubb in the trade deadline, and then Teron Armstead, who I think he's gotten hurt, if I'm not mistaken. Their left tackle from the Saints that they got. So they invested a lot of money. The Dolphins improved. Like to throw Mike McDaniel out after this, and I've not been critical of him on this program, but I have been like, let's pump the fucking brakes on him a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah,
you're being fair on a first-year coach.
I'm tampering it down before we just start on Mike McDaniel, but like he's done a great job. I think he's connected with a guy that has had a tumultuous beginning to his NFL career, coming in injured. I'm obviously speaking of Tua here, coming into the league injured, having an up and down relationship with his head coach and the front office, and then being able to pull confidence and performance out of him this season. The mismanagement of Tua's injury, I think, is really the detriment of this team. He should have never played against the Bengals. Had that not happened, perhaps Tua would have actually been able to recover and then move forward with the rest of the season. Right. A routine tackle wouldn't have sidelined him for the rest of the season, which is what we've seen now. That a routine tackle that we see get made on most quarterbacks throughout the league every Sunday has put Tua on the sideline for the rest of the season, presumably, if they lose this game, which we all expect that they will. So to put Mike McDaniel at fault for that downfall, if you want to call that, he's trotting out fucking Skylar Thompson, guys.
Sure.
Like what are we doing here?
So I think Chanel's comment is the one that is where it kind of comes from for me, because this is where I get it from. Is he says sorry, Chanel, I don't want to gender you, but I lived in Miami for 10 years. Dolphin fans are fair weather and want everyone fired if they aren't happy. It is from Dolphins Twitter that are requesting the termination of Mike McDaniel. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that you have success with a first-year coach who is handed, again, like you said, they beefed up the roster, right? You go out and get Tyreek Hill, you're getting a guy that certainly changes the whole momentum of the game for you. But I think Tua was a guy that still going into this year was a big question mark for all 4 of us, right? I think we all questioned his ability going into this season. And I think outside of, having the 2 concussions that have sidelined him most of the year, I think he's had a good comeback season.
I think McDaniel's done a great job. I can't even believe this is even a question about, what would the Dolphins do next year? I don't think he has any, hot seat at all. I mean, just to get this team into the playoffs. And let's not forget here, guys. Tua played pretty admirably this year when he was healthy.
Yeah.
But he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Jalen Waddle. Let's not forget that this Dolphins organization went back to Ryan Fitzpatrick after starting Tua, tried to trade for Deshaun Watson, got in trouble for talking with Tom Brady. This is all before Mike McDaniel even stepped foot in South Beach.
Yeah.
It's not like this team was sold on Tua by any stretch of the imagination. I think what we saw this year was Tua succeed within Mike McDaniel's offense.
No,
That's an interesting perspective of it.
No, that's a great point.
I just want to throw it out there. I've seen it a little bit over the last like 24 hours, and it makes me laugh to see it. Fans of an organization turn so quickly on a guy that, I mean, at week 4 or 5, people were saying was the coach of the year. So I just like the quick turnaround there.
Time will tell. Mike coming in, or a couple comments here. Mystery saying Tua is very much a monument of mismanagement, 100%. Mike coming in with a comment saying McDaniel should fire Steve Ross for forfeiting his 2023 first round draft pick. That's funny. And then Craig coming in saying, "Go Bills!"
What's up, Craig?
What's up, buddy?
The Bills. We just needed to talk about something.
So, another thing that I've seen kind of in that Dolphins Twitterverse, if you will, and even more so national media, is that the Dolphins are ready to move on from Tua. Look at your team without him right now.
Yeah.
You guys suck without Tua. When Tua is there, you're going on the road to Buffalo in January, and you're right there. And you should have beat them, to be honest. Like the Dolphins should have beat the Bills that week up in Buffalo. They should have. They had them, but they didn't. And so just watching that team with him and then without him, watching some of the throws that he has made, and to be clear, going into the 2020 draft, I was like, Tua or Burrow. I'm good either way. That was where I was at before, all the reports were coming out that the Bengals were 100% taking Joe Burrow and all this. And obviously that's worked out in their favor. But like preliminary draft part, I'm like, all right, if it's Tua, if it's Burrow, I think we'll be good either way going forward. Tua has shown that he has that stuff. He has that ability to make good throws. Just don't trot him out concussed, okay? Just don't do that. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Craig saying it was too cold. Yeah, I had mentioned earlier that the Dolphins they fail to win in cold weather. 0-7 in games under 40 degrees this season. If you guys are keeping an eye on that for your bets this weekend.
What happens at 39 degrees that changes the Dolphins? That's what I want to know.
If you ask Florida, Floridians, what cold is?
That's the temperature.
50 degrees is cold.
The iguanas fall from trees, and so it correlates.
Right. There's a parallel there.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank
you're welcome.
Wonderful next gen stat.
Science guy.
Oh shit!
All right.
Get that man a lab coat.
Moving on to a game, I would assume we'll probably be split on. We've got the Giants on the road headed to Minnesota. Obviously, Giants. Brian Daboll, candidate for Coach of the Year. Coming into the world of Minnesota,
Skull Nation.
Chanel coming with a comment before we get into this. Tua is great when healthy. His concussions were handled poorly. Finns are going to shoot themselves in the foot if they listen to their fans. I think we all agree with that. Anything under 60 is cold in Florida. Yeah, that's true. Ask my cousin. And then Craig coming in saying, "Go Vikes." All right. Todd, lead us off. Vikings, Giants.
Oh, man. Boys, I think this is my biggest split of the week here.
Oh, this is a great game. This might be the game of the week.
Man.
This is definitely going to be a game that I watch from kickoff to final whistle.
So Christmas Eve, right? The Giants lose to the Vikings by 3. Is that how that went down?
I can look.
I think it was 27-24. I think you're right.
Yeah. So, and again, that was a squeaker for Minnesota beating the Giants there. I'm taking the Giants here.
Yeah.
Mystery coming in with a question saying, "What's the split?" I think it's Giants +3. The Vikings are favored by 3 points.
Yeah, Vikings beat the
3.
Giants 27-24.
Yeah.
Christmas.
I think he's saying, what do you split about? I'm taking the Giants here.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate that.
I meant the panel. Was
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
split.
Aaron is the Rosetta Stone of the chat comments here.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. I think that we've watched Minnesota realistically luck their way into 11 wins, right?
12.
Let's just call it what it is. I think, yeah, right.
13.
Other than them beating the Bears last week, every other one goes kind of just barely into their favor. Yeah, Mystery, you're absolutely right. Vikings had their day in the sun. Giants win. That's exactly where I stand. I think this is a team that has been propped up by happenstance, where things just happen to fall into their favor, and plays go their way, drives go their way. Kirk Cousins, gets hot for 2 or 3 drives in a row late in the game. Talking about the Colts game, I just don't know if this Giants defense, who to me that's one of the biggest surprises of the season, is the Giants defense coming out and playing great down the stretch here. I think this was another team we talked about being on the hanger of the wild card and secured the bag 3 weeks ago. And I've just watched this defense go out over the latter part of the season and keep them and win them games. And I feel like that this is an much easier matchup for them defensively than what they've even experienced in the last couple of weeks. So that's where I'm at on the Giants.
To throw that in there, though, one of the last couple of weeks, they did lose to the Vikings. Just keeping that perspective in there. Last couple of weeks, I mean, what they played 2-3 weeks ago, something
Christmas
like that.
Eve. Yeah.
Corey, go ahead. Who you got?
No, actually, I want to kick this to Aaron. We've got a couple of interesting props here. I want to go Aaron because his kind of feed. Or would you like me to feed into yours, Aaron? Or
You tell me, bud.
I think your bet feeds into mine a little bit.
So we're giving you the Aaron Mailing lock of the week. We are currently. Go ahead, Corey.
The Aaron Mailing lock of the week.
We're 1-0. All right, as Sports Gambling is live now, the podcast locks are 1-0. We gave you guys Jalen Warren last week, and if you took it, you made money.
Easy.
And you made money in the third quarter, and you got to eat popcorn. That's what you did. So those are the bets we're looking for. I want the not the one I'm grinning my teeth in the fourth quarter going, please hand it off to him. I want to be feet up on the couch, third quarter, drinking a Mai Tai, going, we already cashed. All right, that's what we're looking at this week. So we got Saquon Barkley over 22.5 rushing yards. That is our lock of the week here. And receiving yards, not rushing
Okay,
yards.
I was going to say rushing yards. Like,
Sure,
should have in the first quarter. I don't even know if that's
lock it in.
Lock that in.
Yeah.
You can get that at your local bookie for minus 10,000. Put your house on it. No, so Saquon Barkley over 22.5 receiving yards. Thank you.
Okay.
So here's my justification for this, and we're always coming prepared. The Giants last week knew exactly where they were going to fall in the playoff picture. They went ahead and rested pretty much everybody on their roster. That's not just Saquon Barkley getting rest. That's the offensive line. That's everybody. All right. They basically got a bye week last week just to get into a playoff game with a team that is rather shaky. The Giants are 4-2 this year when Barkley goes for 23 receiving yards or higher. Okay. We know that this is going to be a part of their game plan coming into this game. The Vikings are also averaging 39 yards a game to opposing running backs through the air. Now that's a combination of backs.
Are you putting sound effects in there, Corey?
Yes, I am.
That's a combination of backs in a lot of situations. But what do the Giants like to do? They like to use their bell cow, and they like to use Saquon Barkley. All of those receiving yards are going to be going to Saquon. In the Week 16 matchup that Corey was just talking about, the Barkley went 8 receptions for 49 yards, averaging 6.1 a reception in that game. Okay, taking a look at that average, you should easily be able to clear it if he's able to get 4 or 5 receptions in this game, which I would anticipate that he will. And then the Vikings are also 31st in the NFL in giving up opposing receiving yards and 20th in rushing. Okay, so this is a bad defense. Now, obviously, the rushing yards aren't going to help you in this prop bet, but because the defense shakes out that way, the Giants know that this is what's going to be in the best interest of their game plan. Take the over, Saquon Barkley, 22.5.
Beautiful.
Did not realize that class started at 9:25.
And you're taking the Giants.
You're taking the Giants in this game as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Corey.
So that feeds in perfectly to exactly where I'm going in with my first ever lock of the week. This one right here, ladies and gentlemen, it's a exact
Corey James lock of the week.
Thank you. So this one is it feeds right into it. So Saquon's going to be a big part of the offense. Everybody's rested. We're going against one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Last time these two teams matched up, Daniel Jones over 300 yards through the air. The line this week, 237.5. I am hammering the over on 237.5 for Daniel Jones. They're going to light this up. Maybe it's not a deep ball, but think about this. Kenny Galladay is starting to get things going a little bit. And if he can even be a shadow of himself when he was with the Lions, don't count on it.
I'm not counting on Kenny Galladay for anything.
Bank more on that Saquon for sure. But I'm just telling you, the fact that he threw up over 300 yards against this team, and now he's getting a 237 line. I'm taking the over on that every single time. There's a lot of different prop bets that I'm interested in based on based on that Christmas Eve game as well. Dalvin Cook had just over 60 yards on the ground. You're getting a 71.5 line on that. I'm leaning on the under there. The Vikings put up 3 field goals against this Giants team. You're getting a 1.5 field goals made there for Greg Joseph on the Vikings. TJ Hawkinson had his day against this Giants defense, over 100 yards receiving. You're getting a 47.5 yard line for TJ Hawkinson. Look for him to be a big part. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is going to be that guy that they try and take away. Could lead to some opportunities for Hawk. Saquon had it over 100 yards on the ground. Aaron just talked about how this Vikings rush defense, while it's not as bad as the pass defense, it certainly is not good. You're getting a 70.
It's a bad defense.
You're getting a 70. You're getting a 73.5 yard line on Saquon rushing as well. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at going into this game. And Aaron already mentioned it. Todd's mentioned it as well. This Vikings team is not one that I trust. The Giants are on a week's rest, essentially, and they hung right with them the last time that they matched up. I'm going to go with the Giants and the G-Men to take this win.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be the lone wolf here. I'm taking the Vikings this week. Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson both last time these two teams met had 10 plus catches, both had over 100 yards receiving, both got into the end zone. So if you're looking at any yardage and anytime touchdown scores this week, I'm betting on Hawkinson to get in the end zone. I'm taking the over on his yardage. And if you're scared of the money line or the spread, don't touch it. My lock of the week though is the over on Hawkinson, and anytime touchdown score for Hawkinson for this game. But I've got the Vikings here at home. I understand that the Giants and they've had rest, which is great. But I think the Vikings, it's not prime time. It's 4:30 on Sunday, so it's
still not 1 o'clock, Bobby.
Not 1 o'clock, but it's not prime time.
Man.
Last time these two teams met, I believe it was a 4 o'clock game as well. So I'm taking the Vikings here, trusting Kirk Cousins at home. God, that scares me.
That's a sentence you just said.
It is. It is. I said it.
That's a sentence you just said.
I'm sticking with my 6-team pick'em parlay this weekend, and I have the Vikings beating the Giants. Okay.
What a great warm up! Like what a great fucking this is the tuna tartare that you get before that fillet at a nice restaurant leading up into this Sunday night game. I mean, this is just
any of that at Applebee's, dude.
They don't, but they do serve. They do serve
bro.
$30 or $3 32-ounce PBRs at Applebee's. So go ahead and check one of those in your neighborhood.
Y'all looking like I never took advantage of that. All right. Couple of comments coming in here. Mystery saying Dabo is going to get Coach of the Year. I think we can all agree with you on that. I think he's had the best stretch, at least in my opinion. I think he's done the best with what he's had to work with, and done a great job with that Giants team. Chris saying long live Mark Brunell.
Let's go.
I mean, I don't
What's
know
up, Stobes?
Not a fan of that jersey there. Fuck Pete Carroll. And then Mystery coming in with a comment. Saquon has revived his career, rejuvenated the offense on the Giants.
He is the offense on the Giants.
That
is the
that
offense.
is the offense on the
Here,
Giants.
before we get to this next game, question: what do you do with Daniel Jones? Has he bought another year? Like what? They didn't take their option, so he's a free agent after the season, right? Like he was in his 5th year or his last year of his contract. They elected not to take his option, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
so what do you do?
Franchise him? Ugh.
Like, what are you going to do? Do you just like? I think we talked about this maybe last week or the week before. Listen, Daniel, you are not Kyler, Mahomes, Watson. Rattle off all the quarterbacks that have gotten large extension. Matt Stafford. You're not that. However, if you are serviceable, you can get us to the playoffs. If we can offer you a 4-year extension at a low tier contract, it could allow us to build a team around you that can keep us in the playoffs and potentially compete for a Super Bowl one day. Is that kind of the front office that you have to do at this point if you're the Giants?
You gotta pull what the Ravens did with Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but the one thing you're not mentioning there too, Corey, that can work to their advantage is incentive lacing that contract.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sure. We can give you a lower tiered contract, but for every round you get into the playoff, every round you advance
extra $500K. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it worth his while to succeed, because I'm with you. I'm not giving him a long-term deal. You look at the Kyler one, hell, you even look at like Derek Carr, for instance. Like, I'm just not willing to put my team in that position because I know you're not the guy, but I also don't know that I can do better than you for a little while here. So
like
you can
3
make
years.
it work on both sides, because I don't think Daniel Jones, I don't think people are bringing the Brinks truck, to park it at Daniel's house to get them over the hump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mystery, we're talking about the Giants here. Chanel's saying the Vikings are going to pull the win out of their butts. I agree with you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's. We're talking about them.
And we're talking about them against a 9-8-1 team. Like, I don't know. I think the Vikings can do it. Like, I fucking hope so.
Right. No, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Daniel Jones. I mean, I don't know if he's worth a franchise tag.
Everything. So I'm sorry, I was listening to you guys, but I was also trying to be able to kind of give some insight onto this. So as of yesterday, they're pretty close to doing a 4-year contract extension with Daniel Jones.
Numbers
totaled around $76 million.
Oh, the total deal is 76,
which is not a guarantee.
No, but
yes.
That's perfect for the Giants.
Yeah, that's so. I think it kind of alludes to
exactly what I just said. Actually,
perfect. I do that.
Yeah, so it's incentivized by. So at least what I read, this Sport Track uses a company called Boardroom that they kind of break down the generalities or the things that dig into a contract, and it was based on obviously like the roster bonuses that guys get, things of that nature. But part of it was total yards in the season. Part of it was playoff wins, Pro Bowl entries, stuff like that, where that's like $18 million of the contract.
Not stumbling down before the end zone.
Yeah. Making it further than 65 yards on your feet.
Yeah.
When there's nobody within 20 yards.
That's $2 million right there.
What up, Rob? Thanks for stopping by.
Not even a steak dinner in Manhattan.
Yeah, Mystery. I don't know. Mystery says I think that the Giants think they have QB1. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Not based on those numbers. No.
If they thought they had QB1, they'd be dropping the bag.
He'd already be signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. I think this is a means to an end for them, because you can have 2 years of Daniel Jones, and if it doesn't get better by the end of next year, you can draft your guy. Or you can trade up to get your guy and draft your guy, whatever you decide you need to do. And it's
a great deal.
It's very similar to the Jameis Winston contract that we just saw him sign in New Orleans, right? It's a 3-year deal. It's the same thing.
Also, it's a great deal for Daniel Jones because he's getting 4 more years in the league, and he's going to be a starter. Because if he's not a starter at New York, he's not a starter anywhere else.
I agree with that.
Yeah, he'll be a backup once he leaves New York.
He played okay this year.
Yeah,
He's playing fine.
Yeah,
but he's just not lighting.
He's in the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into a game where half the panel here is extremely invested. We've got the Ravens once again headed to Cincinnati for the second straight week to take on the Bengals in the Joe Mixon coin flip in the end zone, which was pretty wild. Aaron, do you want to lead this one off? We'll kind of start and then.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll make it quick and say I'm going to take the Bengals here. We saw it last week. As long as the Ravens don't have Lamar Jackson, I just don't see a world in which they can compete in this game. Now, I know it's a divisional game. The Ravens are a thorn in everyone's side. If it's early and it's 13-10 and the Bengals are up going into the half or something like that, I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm also not going to be worried. This is just one of those games that I think the Bengals are just far and away the better team. And obviously the quarterback situation says a lot about that. I'm going to take Joe Burrow over anybody that the Ravens can throw out there. Now, if somehow Lamar Jackson finds his way on the field on Sunday, yeah, there's going to be more of a game. But even if Lamar was there, I'm probably still taking the Bengals in this game anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to echo all of what you just said. No, I think even if Lamar's on the field, I don't think the Ravens stand a chance. The Bengals had a good look at J.K. Dobbins last week and what he had to offer.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't play.
Yep. Oh, he didn't play last week?
No.
No, I thought he played last week. My fault.
It's all good.
Either way,
Dax Hill's brother played.
Nice. But I've got the Bengals here. I think this is one of the easier games to not sweat. I know you guys will be amped and ready to go and worried until you got at least a double-digit lead. Yep. But Todd, who you got? Well, I mean, you got the Bengals. What are your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. So I think this is a good opportunity for Corey and I to just tandem each other here for a few minutes because I think it probably makes more sense because I think we see this game a little bit differently. So I listened to Marcus Spears talk about this game yesterday morning, and you guys have kind of said it. I don't think it matters if Lamar Jackson plays on Sunday because even if he plays on Sunday, he hasn't played a fucking game in 5 weeks. That's a long time to not play an NFL game and then jump back in full speed. Oh, by the way, it's the wild card. And you're inheriting an offense that's struggled for the last 14 weeks, 15 weeks now. So, yeah, I don't think the sentiment that Lamar Jackson's starting the game on Sunday night makes a difference for Baltimore. Maybe it keeps him in a couple drives a little bit closer later in the game. But, I mean, even, post – I don't know. I guess I want to say maybe post the Miami game, I think we watched them struggle getting to the end zone late in the game too. I think that's the big testament there is that the offense doesn't move fluidly whoever they throw out there. And I hats off to Anthony Brown for going out and them forcing him to throw the football almost 50 times in a game where they had no reason to be throwing the ball that much and not backing down. I think that for me, if I'm the Ravens, he builds more confidence in me that he's a guy that you can, if you say you want to pass on Lamar moving forward, that you can at least trot out on the field for a few weeks to try to keep you in games. I personally felt that he moved the ball better than Tyler Huntley has since he's played this year, at least after getting the jitters out of the first 2 picks in the first half. But I think that obviously we talked about, or a lot of people talked about the Ravens didn't really sit anybody on defense. They set most of their offense, or some of their offense rather. J.K. Dobbins, Mark Andrews, Kevin Zeitler, Ronnie Staley he switched off and on drive. So, some of your heavy hitters didn't play on Sunday, but I don't really think it matters if they play for the majority of the game on Sunday night either. I don't know if J.K. Dobbins comes in and shifts the momentum in the other direction for Baltimore here. You're talking about a run defense that ranks in the top 12, and I don't sweat them running the ball 35 times against this defense because I think that's the only way that you move the ball down the field on this defense. If you're Baltimore, is you got to kind of shove it down Cincinnati's throat and wear down the front 6 that they kind of trot out. On the offensive side of the ball, I think we watched the Bengals probably run about, I don't know, let's call it 20% of their offense last week, right? In terms of total play calling that they ran.
So to that point, a lot of what they did was their offensive last year. Like you saw almost no RPO, which is exactly what they've done since pretty much the bye week is what they've heavily shifted into that RPO style offense. You saw none of that. You saw a lot of the pop out bubble screens setting up for the deep routes, which they had, and Joe Burrow missed.
Twice.
But he hit Jamar on one. He missed T on a fucking wide open one, but not his best game by any sense, any stretch. You even, got a sound bite of while Jamar Chase was being interviewed in the locker room, or no, he's on Instagram Live in the locker room, and you're hearing Joe Burrow coming up to him, during the celebration of winning the division, saying, I played like shit, guys. Like that's my bad. And he's like, dude, don't even worry about it. Kind of to your point, like and to Aaron's point about, I'm going to take Joe Burrow. I'm going to take Joe Burrow not having a bad game back-to-back weeks is what I'm going to take, because you've seen that.
That's fair.
And I'm gonna rely on this offense operating in a sense that they have operated in most of the season. I think both teams were holding the cards a little bit close to their chest. I am getting a sense that John Harbaugh is a little bit frustrated, and I think that that's kind of coming out into the team. I think that he is frustrated with the quarterback situation, obviously. He's not getting his guy out there that he has retooled this entire offense to operate around. Lamar, whether or not he's really hurt or not, obviously all reports are coming out that yes, he's got a severe swelling in his knee, yada, yada, yada. It's 2 years in a row now that Lamar has not been present towards the end of the season. So there's just some question marks. And why would he go out there? Why would he? What does he have? There's nothing, like, let's say he rips his knee in half. There's nothing guaranteeing him compensation going into the next year. There's no chance in hell that if I'm a former MVP that I'm going out there without a contract. There's no fucking way I'm doing it.
I agree with you.
And I completely understand, respect, and obviously I'm the beneficiary of it as my team's going against his team this week, but I completely understand that mindset if that is the case. Nonetheless.
Well, I'm glad you brought Harbaugh up. Have you guys seen the video spliced together of like him being asked it basically every week since the injury, where it starts off and he's like he's like, yeah, it's like a day-to-day, week-to-week thing. He'll be back out there, and then the next week.
It was supposed to be 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And then they keep asking him, and it just keeps cutting to the next time they ask him in the next week. And you just see how dejected he looks. It's like it's just like 5 o'clock shadow coming in, where he's just like, there's not enough bourbon in the world right now. And he looks miserable. By the last summer, he's like, I have no idea, guys. I'll let you know when I know.
Like, honestly, if he was going to be signed, it would have already happened. Do you know how
before the season started?
Well, do you know how I know? Because they just signed, or they just agreed to an extension, a 4-year extension, making Roquan Smith the highest paid linebacker in the NFL at $20 million a year. They just agreed to a 4-year extension for Roquan Smith. Right. That's how I know that if they wanted a Lamar deal done, you don't sign a fucking linebacker before you sign a quarterback. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't. Yeah. There's no chance in hell Lamar Jackson is the Baltimore Ravens.
Where does he go next year?
There's a myriad of options that Lamar could land in. There's plenty of places that need a quarterback. Yeah. Jets would be a great option. How about Washington? Washington would be a great spot for Lamar.
Yeah, no OC, both teams needing an offensive coordinator is the perfect opportunity to bring in a franchise quarterback, if you will, right?
What about Los Angeles? What about Carolina? He's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah.
I don't think the Bengals will just let him go like that, though, because they at least still have the franchise.
The Ravens, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
The Bengals are like, no, keep him in the division, dude.
Yeah,
we got
Can't you technically tag him for 2 more years after this year?
I'm saying. They can tag and trade rights for 2 years.
Mike coming in with a contract. Actually, they have him for 1 more year, Aaron.
Yeah, you can tag for 2.
You can tag for 2.
You can tag for 2. However, another team can match that offer, and he can take it. He's not it's a restricted tag this year. Next year, it's an unrestricted tag.
Yeah. And the 2-year tag, that's like 45.
Yeah, 45 is what the second year.
So this new contract, this new adjustment that they made with Roquan Smith, and obviously things will kind of digest next year as you get into free agency, but Baltimore has less than $45 million in cap space after that. So that tells me
tag them. That's all hard cap.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I think that to me, and Corey, I think we probably felt a similar sense of relief when you see the Roquan Smith extension, or however you want to kind of digest that extension.
Honestly, I'd rather him be the Ravens quarterback. I'd rather it be Lamar long term, because I feel like over the last Lamar, at least the last 2 times he's played the Bengals, has posted like a 78 QBR. He's not like going out there and balling on us. Yeah, he did against Marvin Lewis. Good job. Good job. Your coming out party was against a team that had non-athletic linebackers. It's not the same team anymore. Yeah. It's just not. And so to kind of circle back to the game here, the energy in the stadium is going to be absolutely fucking electric. Another primetime game. That whole fan base had a primetime game kind of, unfortunately, out of anyone's hands, taken away from them. Joe Burrow had said that environment was the best environment that he had ever been a part of pregame. Now they said, are you talking about NFL? He said, no, ever. High school, college. Remember, this guy played in the SEC, college, NFL. He said that the environment in that stadium, the buzz in that stadium, unrivaled. And I think Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase all deserve a lot of credit for that kind of environment, that fan base, that passion that they've built from results. Like that's how you get that, is by fucking winning football games. And that's how you drive that. So that crowd is going to be absolutely electric. I think you're going to see a full-fledged offense. And from a defensive perspective, if my concerns are shut down J.K. Dobbins, double team Mark Andrews, I'm good everywhere else. It's a pretty easy game plan. It's a pretty easy defensive game plan. I can shut down their best receiving option and their best running option in J.K. Dobbins, who we assume is who we're going to be seeing getting the majority of the shares.
Yeah.
Rob coming in with a quick comment saying the Hawks were down 24 to the Bucks a few minutes ago. Now it's just a 1-point game. No, it's not football, but insane game going on. No Trae Young for the Hawks tonight.
Did I take the Bogdanovich over tonight? I did. I'm feeling great. So thank you, Rob, for the update. It's all relevant.
Also, did we all hammer the Donovan Mitchell over last night, 28.5? Did we all hammer that? Like I said,
I hit I hit a parlay with the Cavs money line, so I lost.
I sent you the one, and it would have hit. I guarantee it. But Josh Allen went out after 6 minutes with an illness.
Yeah, dude. I took the Donovan Mitchell over. I knew he was going to go off. I didn't touch the fucking money line because the Jazz were favored. I'm like, they're not the better team, yet they still, obviously emotional game. Donovan back. I'm sure the crowd was fucking nuts. But yeah, great game. Tez coming in with a comment. Yo, what's up, fellas? What's up, Tez?
What up, Tez?
Baker going to be your quarterback next year? What's going on over there in the City of Angels, Tez? We appreciate you.
So here's my money line, or here's my bet last night. It was Donovan Mitchell plus 30, Donovan Mitchell plus 5 assists, Donovan Mitchell plus three-pointers made.
Cavs money line.
Cavs money line.
Oh man, and it was right there too.
It was right there. It was a hell of a.
Well, you think if all that hit,
that would have been a good hit too. That was plus 4.
You think the Cavs can't lose if he does all of that?
Yeah, but it's not the same Jazz team anymore to where you're like, oh, a 222 over. Yeah, I'm going to take the under there because it's the Jazz. It's just not the same Jazz team anymore where anytime there was a stretch where anytime I caught a Jazz over under at 210 plus, I was hammering the under, and more like 75% of the time it's cashing every single time. Not the case last night.
Yeah.
For those of you on YouTube, Rob and Tez are both over on Facebook. We are live on Facebook as well if you guys are interested in going to check us out on that platform as well.
And we're on Twitter and TikTok.
Hey. I don't know what the fuck that was. Sorry. Anyways,
some chick came by.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got the Cowboys headed on the road to Tampa Bay. What a game this is going to be. A lot of questions around this matchup this week. Obviously, the Cowboys coming off an absolutely atrocious end of the season. The Buccaneers are, essentially looking like they finally got all their shit together. This should be an interesting matchup to say the least.
I mean, they got beat by like 17 last week to the Falcons, but pulled Tom Brady in like the early second quarter. But yeah, so
yeah,
they got to buy.
Right, exactly. All right, well, Corey, lead us off. Cowboys, Buccaneers, who you got?
Guys, I've called this for 3 weeks now. The Cowboys are going to lose, and I don't know how many times I've said this in the last 3 weeks, but yeah, I've got the Buccaneers. Tom Brady 7-0 against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are reeling. They have consistently failed in the first round of the playoffs so many times.
Yep.
And yeah, you're getting a Tampa offense that's full of rest. The offensive line is starting to get a little healthy, and it just smells like, honestly, dude, the NFC is such a fucking clusterfuck right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who the Eagles are anymore. I don't trust Purdy entirely. Obviously, I trust the rest of that San Fran roster. The Vikings, nope, don't trust them. The Giants, not a Super Bowl contender in my opinion. The Cowboys, yeah, they started out great, but they fizzled like they always do. And then the Buccaneers, you're starting to get hot. It's like, is it crazy to think that they couldn't be in the NFC Championship this year? Is it crazy to think that they
Bucks?
just go? Yeah, the Bucks to just go on a run and do it again. But
the path is there.
The path is absolutely there. But I'm not going to speak too much about that right now. I will say I am taking the Buccaneers, and I am taking the money line over the Cowboys.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'm with you, Corey. I'm taking the Bucks as well. The Cowboys are the vibes are off. That's for sure. Again, it's kind of the same things we echoed with the Vikings.
Probably on the coach.
Their play, yeah, right. Their play does not match what their record is. And when you guys were talking earlier about McDaniel, I first thought you were asking about McCarthy, because I was going to say I think McCarthy is the only coach who made the playoffs this year who still can get fired this year.
You know what? It's funny about that, Aaron, is that Jerry Jones explicitly came out. Mike McCarthy's job, regardless of the outcome.
Makes me think he's more on the.
They've already talked about it. Yeah, exactly.
You just breathe air onto the fire. If they lose this game to the Bucks, it's very possible.
Dude, he's gone.
He's gone.
I think he's fired before he gets to the locker room.
Oh my God.
And I think
hey, Sean, like Sean Payton, come on down. Yeah, dude.
Obviously, because the Bucks technically won their division, even though the Cowboys had the better record, Bucks are getting the home field here as well. And it's Tom Brady in the playoffs, and Brady has not been the same this year. But I'm with you, Corey. I actually parlayed the Giants and the Bucks. I think we're looking at 2 upsets, and
boom.
And I think these are the 2 upsets of the weekend.
Love it, Bruce. Thanks for liking the stream, man.
A couple comments. Let me get to these comments real quick. Tez said the Rams are scheduled to be in Cincinnati next year. It's only 5 hours from him. He's in St. Louis. He's going to try to make that game. Definitely going to link up, sir.
Let's do it.
You make that trip.
That'd be great.
It is only an hour 45 for me to get to Cincy. I will make that trip in a heartbeat.
It's 4 for me, but Ted's, if you're going to make the trip to Cincinnati, I will drive down from Detroit to be in Cincinnati. We might even convince Aaron to go if we can all chip in and pay for his ticket. Just meet me in Bowling Green, Aaron, and and then we'll have a nice meetup of a Rally Towel family member.
We'll convene at the Holy Grail.
Beautiful.
Let's do it. I'm in.
It has to be done. Mike coming in the comment that would resonate with the panelist below me. McCarthy is a crappy coach, but so is Rhodes.
I think he means Bowles, Todd Bowles there.
Todd Bowles.
Hey, coach of the Buccaneers.
Fair enough. I was just reading the comment.
I got you. Yeah, got you.
Rob said he'll come out. Shit, Bruce will video call in. All right, that's fair.
That's a drive for Bruce. I don't expect him to be out there.
All right. Todd, Cowboys, Bucks. Who you got?
I mean, I think I don't want to keep fucking dogging on Mike McCarthy, but
you do.
It's Super Bowl champion Mike McCarthy. Super Bowl champion Mike McCarthy.
So is Brian Switzer. It is what it is. I think we've talked enough about the Cowboys to say that The record doesn't equate to what the caliber of this team is. And
much like the Vikings.
So I feel so. My personal opinion on the Cowboys is I'm done with Dak Prescott as well. I don't think that his comeback story last year was great, and that's it. He has not done anything since week 1 to me, right? So obviously he's put together, winning seasons, but he has not put himself into position since week 1 of last year and his re-entry back into the NFL after the ankle injury that says that he's worth his contract. I watch him make mistake after mistake and an offense that's not fit for what he is. Don't forget that this guy came from a Mississippi State offense where they threw the ball 60 times a game, and now you're in a run-first offense, and then you expect the guy to throw the ball 25 times and hit it 20 times. It's just not the case. He's not built for that. He's built for volume, a volume of passes. And you kind of give him enough to be able to make that offense better, right? You go out and draft CeeDee Lamb, who I think shows top 15 caliber talent, 4 or 5 plays a game. And then you have Michael Gallup, who, when healthy, is good. You have Noah Brown, who's introduced himself very nicely into the NFL this year as a big, deep threat. And then you have Dalton Schultz, and they just don't win. That last week, regardless of that game, mattered to them, right? It mattered to Dallas, and they got their shit kicked in by a Commanders team that trotted out a rookie quarterback making his first fucking start, and they couldn't stop him.
First of all, I want to say that, like, in our group chat, we were like talking about like which games we were going to watch and like which ones we were tuning into and enjoying in the first slate of those games. And Todd's like, "Yeah, I'm watching this rookie quarterback make a start." And in the back of my head, I'm like, this dude just wants to watch McCarthy fail. Like that's what you're really watching.
That's absolutely what I wanted. And Mary's asking me, like, why are we watching the Commanders and the Cowboys? I said, because you're going to watch a rookie quarterback beat the worst head coach in the NFL. And I'm going to laugh the whole time. And it did. It happened. And they had no answer to him. And all he did was
pretty good.
Yeah, he looked good at scrambling and making 5 to 8 yard passes, and he won.
Had a couple deep balls.
That's football, honestly.
Right.
Like
no. I'm just saying that if you are Dallas and you find out on Thursday that you're facing Sam Howell, you do everything that everyone does to prepare for a rookie quarterback making his first start in Week 18. Take away the short threat and take away the tight end and make him throw the ball against you, and they didn't do that. So shame on Dallas for not being prepared for a game that mattered to them. And I think that you get a week to prepare for Tom Brady and it goes worse. Like, I don't know. I don't, obviously I feel very strongly of my disdain of Mike McCarthy, but I think you guys are right. I think he's fired after this game.
Interesting.
If they lose.
That'd be
if they lose. Yes. If they lose.
Win and they're like, get the fuck out
of here.
Yeah. Hey, man, you didn't run the look, if there's any owner in the NFL that would do it, it's Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
You won by 3. It's not enough. Get out of my.
You know what though? Like that guy has like demonstrated like extreme loyalty to his guys though. Like Jason Garrett. Yeah. Like Jason Garrett was on the hot seat for a while. Obviously, like Zeke. Talking about moving on from him, like he is invested in Zeke. He's going to stick with Zeke. Obviously, talking about Dak, he's invested in Dak. All of these things. I put it up on the screen not too long ago. Fun fact: Dak Prescott leads the league in interceptions while having only played 12 football games.
Yes, that's my point. Is that he's
not a stat you want.
This offense is not a Dak Prescott offense. He was great in college because he could throw in volume. Yeah. And his rookie year, he was good because they threw in volume. And Mike McCarthy's offense is not built for him. And you talk about a coach building an offense around a quarterback that you're paying a lot of money and a running back that you're paying a lot of money. And Tony Pollard has more yards than Ezekiel Elliott.
He did last year too.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about in 36 games that he outrushes Zeke by like over 400 or 500 yards. That's insane.
I think that's what we're getting to. The root here is more or less not so much extreme confidence in the Buccaneers. It's just lack of confidence in the Cowboys as to why, 75% of this panel so far, we haven't gotten to Bobby's pick, obviously, is leaning towards the Bucks to take this game. Like
it's not like the Bucks are brooding with confidence. Obviously,
no
Brady, but they've been terrible.
Yeah. I mean, they've had some bad games. They've had some games where they've flashed, like the beginning of that Bengals game. They flashed, they looked great, and then the second half they just fell apart.
Yeah.
Whether that's to the weeks and weeks of data that we've seen that second half Bengals defense kind of just like rise up, you know what I mean? Or if it's really like the Bucs falling apart, but they're coming off like basically a week's worth of rest here, going against a team that's reeling. It's an easy bet for me. I just don't have confidence in putting money on the Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that. Yeah, I mean, this is the last leg in my 6-team pick'em parlay on FanDuel this week. I've got the Buccaneers over the Cowboys. Buccaneers actually have plus odds in this game. It's not a lot, but they are not, technically favored in this matchup, which I love, especially for my odds and betting. But yeah, I mean, I don't trust Dak Prescott as far as I can throw him, or for how accurate he can throw a football. He may have an issue with being colorblind. I don't know. He just always seems to throw to the wrong colored jerseys, and he's done it a lot. And I just have a feeling, the Cowboys defense isn't going to have a stop for Tom Brady this week with basically his entire receiving core finally healthy. I think he just absolutely picks them apart. And, Tom Brady's going to throw for, at least 300 yards and probably touchdowns. So it's going to be a big week for Tom Brady.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
And that's it. That's it for the wild card picks this week. Chat, do you guys have any thoughts? Upset picks for the week? Anything like that?
Are any of you guys surprised at just how unimpressive these matchups are?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. There's only really I think 2 or 3 close spreads going
Jags
into
Chargers is on paper, the best matchup, if you will.
I think
I'd say Vikings Giants.
Vikings Giants is a good one, and I think this is also a good. Like, I don't think the Bucs are going to slaughter the Cowboys.
No, it'll be less than 7.
The reason I don't say the Vikings Giants is because, again, a 13-4 team should handily take care of a 9-8-1 team.
Sure.
Right. No, for sure. Rob, coming with the question: so the Bears pick one or trade down?
Trade it.
I think you absolutely. I mean, you're not taking a quarterback. You got Justin Fields. You like what you got there. You trade down, get some value.
But here's the thing: who is like banging down the door for one of these quarterbacks?
The Colts.
You think that they are just over the moon about one of these guys?
I think they have gone from
they're better than whatever they're working with at this point.
Not my question. I think they're over. I don't know. What I'm saying is I think they're over the old fill-in. I think they're ready to start over with a young guy.
And where are they picking right now?
Fourth.
They can get that there. That's my point. My point is that
not if you can get your guy.
I think it's going to be more of a combine thing.
There's a lot. I think it'll be decided before the. I get what you're saying there. There's going to be a lot of movement between now and draft day. There's a lot of, but what I'm looking at right now, when I'm looking at this quarterback class, there is no Joe Burrow. There is no Trevor Lawrence. There is no Andrew Luck. There is no guy that you're just like, holy shit! This is our guy. This is the guy that we have to take. The drop off between a CJ Stroud and a Bryce Young is not that drastic. When I look at Levis, am I saying? Levis out of UK. I'm seeing Josh Allen when I look at this kid. I'm seeing very similar.
Zach Wilson.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I'm seeing a way better arm than Zach Wilson, but I'm seeing a guy that can fucking swing that rock. This guy played in the SEC as a completely different animal, but. Nonetheless, my point remains that there is not a guy that is like reaching out as the number one. However, the one person that can make that leap between now and draft day is CJ Stroud. And he did that in that college football playoff game, was demonstrate what he can do, because the Buckeyes did not lose because of CJ Stroud. I think we all know a particular reason why they probably didn't win that game, but he did everything he could to bring them into the national championship. And I think the Buckeyes are hoisting that trophy at the end of Monday night had they have beaten Georgia. Nonetheless, there isn't some guy that is there at that number one slot. And so what I'm getting to here is that the package that the Bears would receive might not be enough if there isn't that draw to that number one slot. The Colts might feel good at 4, or maybe they try and make a deal with the Texans to get to 2. They're okay not having that first pick. So that is the only thing that is drawing me back from saying that the Bears trade out, because you have to have 2 to tango here. You got to have
obviously that
you got to have a trade partner to trade out. Would the Bears like to if the right package came? Obviously, yeah, of course. Number 1 overall, left tackles, quarterbacks, and edge rushers. The Bears could use some help in a couple of those areas. So there are options. The Bears could get the best edge rushing prospect that we've seen in the last 6 years since Myles Garrett.
I think another team that I don't know if we've even thought about yet, I could see the Las Vegas Raiders trying to creep into that number 1 spot to get a quarterback too. I think we've obviously watched what the expectation is moving forward with Derek Carr, right? I mean, you excuse a player 2 weeks before the season's over. That tells me that you are moving forward without that player himself. So that's a team that's picking 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken. That's a team that would certainly move forward to secure the bag, right? And they have, and fortunate for them or unfortunate, they have the kind of the traction in terms of picks through this draft and next year's draft to be able to make the move. But I think the only thing that they don't necessarily have is the actual on-field talent currently to make it kind of smooth over trading a number 1 overall pick with the Bears. And they don't have anything that makes the Bears significantly better, right? I think the Bears could sit at number 1 and draft, Corey, I'm assuming you're talking about Will Anderson, right?
Yeah.
So I could see them saying, no, let's secure the bag. Let's get Will Anderson, and then we'll move on from there, because that
could be their guy. We want him though.
Yeah. So I think the big thing is, if you're looking at a guy like a Will Anderson, and Corey, I don't think you're super far off there. He's to me, you watch what he does on the field. He is a generational talent. Now we'll see what that equates to at the NFL level. I don't think he loses too many steps, but I think the Bears, with the amount of money that they also have available, right? I mean, we're talking about over $100 million available to smooth out that roster for the 2023 season. They don't necessarily need to move a bunch of stuff around to get better, right? You could pick 1 overall, grab your guy, and then you could go out and sign, 2 to 3 offensive linemen, very similarly to the way that the Bengals did to good team contracts, and then you've checked 2 boxes right there.
I mean,
right?
Kind of to your point right there, Todd, like I honestly think that you are going to see teams do what the Bengals have done, and it's a copycat league. So I don't want to right. I don't want to toot the horn a little bit too much, but what did the Bengals do? You're looking at kind of similarly to what the Lions have done. The Lions have drafted offense early, build up your offense, and go get veteran defensive help. So that's kind of what you're going to start to see, is that now the Lions, you've started to see them start to draft a little bit of defense, and they're probably going to get some offensive help as well. It's just building that core and then adding in value free agencies. Look at all the teams that made the huge free agent splashes this offseason. Obviously, the Broncos is the biggest free agency splash, or is a trade rather, but offseason splash. The Dolphins, huge offseason splashes. The Raiders, massive offseason splashes. Are there the Chargers?
Browns obviously, but
the Browns obviously
11 missed games, so it's a little different of it. A
little bit different, obviously, but none of those teams are we really considering as a Super Bowl contender. Right. I don't really think it's about splash signings in free agency. I think in free agency, it's about value, and in the draft, it's about getting it right. So when you're talking about a team that trades up, the Raiders, I don't see the Raiders doing that because I think the Raiders are a team that think they're smarter than everybody, and they draft accordingly.
Well, history tells you that they're horrible at picking anybody in the first round for what, 6 or 7 years now,
except for Josh Jacobs.
Right,
that one is hit.
Right.
And everybody was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, think about that too. But the Raiders were going to give up on Josh Jacobs.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know that he's going to be this next year.
He ain't going to be a Raider next year.
That's fine. But like for the Bears, I think in a perfect world, yeah, you trade down. Obviously, Corey, it takes two to tango. You can't just trade down to trade
100%.
down. I understand that. But in terms of the question, if I had my choice of the litter at 1 or can I trade down, I'm trading down. Obviously, again, that depends on the package I can get back for it. If I'm moving back from 1 to 4 with the Colts, that's a no-brainer for me because I'm still getting a top 5 talent. But the other interesting thing with the Bears is in that Chase Claypool trade, they give up their own second. Now, any other year, sure, fine, great, 32nd pick.
Yep, because the Dolphins obviously lost the first round pick. Yeah.
So, and again, that's one pick difference, but just to say, you're giving up a first round talent. What the Bears did this year is find out that they do have a quarterback in Justin Fields, because if Justin Fields doesn't have this year, they're probably keeping that pick and going quarterback at number 1. And I've even heard people make the argument of, do you go quarterback at number 1 and trade Justin Fields? And I think that's crazy, but the reason for that is the more years of control. Justin Fields still hasn't actually proven himself. He's shown flashes, and you can argue that his value might not be higher for a team that really wants a quarterback. I wouldn't do that, but I've heard that argument.
I might. Dude, I honestly might. I honestly might do that.
It's at least worth the conversation.
Fuck yeah, you're taking that call, right?
and Corey, you were saying there isn't anybody that's a bona fide number 1. Well, I agree with that. It's definitely different than last year, where it was, Kenny Pickett's the only first. There are quarterbacks that can reasonably go number 1, and people aren't going to.
There's like 4 or 5.
There's 5.
So I do think what happens is between now and the draft, somebody's going to fall in love with somebody, and they're going to go up and get their guy. So while the Bears aren't making this trade today, that phone line is going to be open for anyone who wants to call and offer what they will.
Question: does CJ Stroud have an extra year of eligibility?
He's going.
Has he declared yet?
He's a redshirt junior, but he hasn't declared. No, he has not said that he's entering the draft.
And the reason I'm asking is if you're looking at potentially going to the Houston Texans,
I might stay.
Well, it's the interesting thing that NIL offers.
Exactly, it's a different scenario now that like CJ Stroud can make millions of dollars staying at Ohio State.
Yeah, he actively is making millions.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like he can make money to support his family.
I think that the NIL thing still isn't like, it doesn't filter into decision making for these guys that are, top 5 picks, specifically quarterbacks that are top 5 picks.
Don't worry, Todd. I still think there's 16 teams play 16 games every year, and I'm still haven't caught up to the we all have that.
It's and I know maybe I'm coming off a little bit speaking out of both sides of my mouth here because I kind of I took offense to that when people were saying that about Joe Burrow and the Bengals. However, the Bengals are an organization that their last 3 quarterbacks that they have drafted, they have extended. Okay. I'm assuming Joe Burrow gets extended. Andy Dalton extended, Carson Palmer extended. These are quarterbacks that agreed to stay in Cincinnati and play for the Bengals. The Texans, obviously, they extended Deshaun. How'd that work out? Matt Schaub, how'd that work out? David Carr, how'd that work out? It's tough. It's tough. The Texans are in a tough spot. They have fired 2 coaches over the last couple of years. So it's just interesting just being in that situation as a CJ Stroud, as a Bryce Young, to be like, as of right now, I'm going to the Texans. Like, that's what it looks like. That's probably my most likely outcome. If I get drafted as the first quarterback, which both of those individuals probably assume they are going to be, I'm going to the Texans. Is that what I want, or do I want to go make $2 million and go try and win another national championship with Ryan Day and my boys?
Sure.
And a little cash.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely. Brian coming in with the comments that I missed everyone's picks for the Bengals game. What do you guys say? Do you think O-line holds up?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, we all took the Bengals this week, Brian. The consensus was it doesn't matter if Lamar Jackson plays or not. Bengals are going to roll. O-line should be good. at least in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing here when you talk about, obviously you're talking about Alex Kappa going down, likely not making it back into the season, and then you enter in Max Sharping, right, who has made 30-plus NFL starts, if I'm not mistaken, with the Houston
four-year
Texans.
veteran. Yeah, four-year veteran.
The second-round pick for the Houston Texans at that. So this was a guy, obviously, that they drafted to start right away.
Northern Iowa, I believe.
Northern Illinois.
Illinois, okay.
Yeah, you were right in that. You were correct. You were almost
same
correct.
thing.
Yeah. MAC, whatever conference Northern Iowa's in for football, it's all kind of similar. But this is a guy that
and Mike Deshaun did
get Illinois, get it right. But I think the funny thing about Max Sharping is that I don't know if anybody even realized that the Bengals signed him at the end of training camp.
Nope.
Because that was a fucking steal.
Was.
$2.5 million to get a veteran starting guard to back up your free agent signing that you know is going to get you to where you need to get to. It was a genius move.
Well, here's the thing, Todd. What do the Bengals love to do on offense? They love to throw the ball.
Yeah,
right.
And that's his build.
That's his bread and butter. If you look at the PFF gradings of Sharping versus Kappa, they're almost the exact same in terms of pass protection. Kappa, obviously, a better run blocker. Ted Karras, center for the Cincinnati Bengals, nothing but absolute praise for Alex Kappa. Ted Karras has been praised as one of the best centers in football this year, obviously, but behind All Pro there. Can't take too much praise there, Mr. Aaron. Got an All-Pro center there in Cleveland, but I think did he get listed as guard?
Who? No, Batonio is
Batonio. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Pochich is the center, right?
Yeah. My apologies.
Well,
My apologies.
Yeah, he's the
Nick Harris, but Pochich had the
right.
But Ted got a lot of praise this season, one of the highest graded centers, and he gave praise to Kappa, saying like he is the glue, kind of. So a lot of Bengals are like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do? Yeah. You've got a good guy stepping up behind him there, and I think that's kind of something that Bengals fans should feel good about. Yeah. Not only that, Adeniji and Sharping practiced next to each other on the practice squad. Yeah, all season. So communication is a big deal on the offensive line.
Right. So that's actually that's what I was going to allude to next. You're looking at two guys that have been rocking next to each other for 21 weeks now, and now they're just doing it in real time, and game time situations. And, obviously I don't know how deeply you guys have looked into PFF, but La'el Collins is one of the lowest rated right tackles in the NFL this year.
Yep. 28th, I believe.
Yeah. Rated under 60 at like 57.5, 57.4, somewhere in that ballpark.
Tackles, not right tackles, but yeah.
Yeah. Tackle. So Adeniji is not, you look at just pure grading, it's a downgrade because of what La'el Collins does in terms of just creating the first move off the ball. Because if you watch him a lot, it's either he's moving or he's on his ass, and that's just kind of the way that he's always played in the NFL. Adeniji is more mobile, more athletic. I think you can do a little bit more around the right side of Adeniji, just based on his ability to move better. And I feel I understand where the circumstances get a little bit more challenging as you get deeper into the playoffs, now having Kappa, just based on, I think, leadership, right? That's the only thing where I think it gets a little hairy on an offensive line. Is obviously Karras voted as a captain, who's kind of your leader, but there's something to be said about a guy that's been there before, and that's Alex Kappa that's been there before, and Max Sharping and Adeniji both really have not. I guess Adeniji has somewhat, right, going through last year, but not necessarily to the same level.
And I kind of want to go back into this game a little bit here, because obviously we've got people in the chat asking about it, but when I watched that game on Sunday, Todd, you can tell me if you felt the same. Bobby, Aaron, if you were able to watch it, feel free to give your opinions on it. It was a little chippy. It was whether it's, I'll start on the Bengals side, whether it's Jackson Carman completely driving another a Ravens defender into their sideline, causing a scuffle on a block that was completely away from the play, right? Yeah. The play was it was like a play action bootleg dump out screen to the right, and Jackson Carman blocking his guy completely to the left. into the sideline. Ravens players are scuffling around, whether it's that or the face mask that went uncalled on Joe Burrow, where his head gets turned around. That happens from time to time in the league.
Happened to Deshaun Watson around the same time.
Shake that off. But the defenseless receiver hits on Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Roquan Smith standing over receivers and cheering while they're down and hurt. The AFC North over the last 10 years has been
brutal.
The fucking hood. It has been a fucking fight every time these teams get together, whether it's fucking what's his name putting the cleats in the face of the punter on the Browns, the Steelers versus the Browns. Yeah. Antonio Brown just curb stomping a punter, whether it's Myles Garrett swinging a helmet at Mason Rudolph, Vontaze Burfict taking out Juju Smith-Schuster, or Juju Smith-Schuster taking out Vontaze Burfict. It goes on and on and on. These four teams fucking hate each other.
Yeah,
it is honestly, obviously, we're all biased, right? We have representation of all of the three quality teams in the division, and obviously not excluding the shittiest team, the Baltimore Ravens. We have representation from 75% of this division, so I know we're biased. This division fucking hates each other.
Yeah. And that's obviously not exclusive to the AFC North. Like, there's rivalries everywhere. But the thing with the AFC North is you're constantly getting 2+ playoff teams. Like, this division consistently over time is in there. And again, this was a year where I don't know how, but there was almost 3 that got in from this division. And we said it at the beginning of the year. I said, listen, the AFC South is going to get one team. I can guarantee that. I'm not 100% sure it's going to be. I thought it was the Colts. I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be, but I knew it was going to only been one team. All right, go Jags. So, and obviously we thought the West was going to be the team. Usually there's a team that has 3 teams that make it. The AFC North is always going to be right there. And that's why earlier when we were doing our predictions, Corey, obviously I'm taking the Bengals. But if it's 13-10 at halftime, I'm not going to be surprised.
If the Bengals win 24-20, I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And like, if they don't cover the spread, I'm not – I wouldn't be worried going forward. Right. It's just this is a familiar opponent. These are 2 great head coaches. These are 2 great defenses.
Did you guys split this year, or did you go 2-0?
Yes. We lost better. We lost to the Ravens. Yeah, it's hard to beat somebody 3 times, right?
Right.
But it seemed a little bit chippy. I think you've heard about it in the news a little bit. Like, you've heard Bengals players talk about it. They've talked about how they didn't like the bullshit.
Cam Taylor-Britt was very vocal about it after that game. I think he was the one, to me, that was
a rookie,
quickest,
by the way.
Quickest to the trigger to say, these 4 things happened, and just to summarize it beautifully, they didn't give a fuck that it was happening either. They just kept coming at us. And that's what, and Cam Taylor-Britt then followed up and said, like, but that's what playing Baltimore feels like.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine if you want to, if that's the mentality that you want to go with. But from a fan perspective here, like, you are pressing the wrong fucking, you're pissing off the wrong bear. Like, you are pissing the wrong tiger, right? Like, this is not the team that you want to piss off going into the playoffs. These guys don't need any extra motivation. They just lost in the Super Bowl. You don't think that this team is motivated? You want to piss them off going into the playoffs? You want to, put up a coin flip opportunity for them to lose a home playoff game? You want to take cheap shots at their star players in a game leading into a rematch playoff game? It's the wrong team to do it to, and it's just it's exactly what the AFC North is, man. It's just tough fucking.
It's blue collar football. It's kind of what it's been since it's been designated this way. It's been full blue collar, everybody going at each other for 60 minutes, and nobody takes their foot off the gas. That's why anytime a divisional opponent beats the shit out of each other, thinking back to the Ravens, or the Bengals crushing the Ravens last year, They could have slowed down. They could have started running the ball in that game, and they didn't.
Nope.
You know why? Because
John
they
Harbaugh
fucking
took offense
hate
to that.
Yeah, and they fucking hate each other. And I think that you see the emotion more. And I think it's the most emotional I see Mike Tomlin in a game is when they're playing a divisional opponent. It's the only time you see him not just bug-eyeing people, when he's actually, smiling or frowning or screaming, whatever the situation may be. But
it's the only time you see him stick his leg out and trip somebody on a punt return.
He did that too. I didn't want to.
I appreciate you making that comment, Bobby.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've watched the tape over and over again, and when you watch it in full speed,
he did it on purpose.
It looks like an accident, but then when you watch it in slow motion, you see this, and then he walks over it. But I don't know, Aaron, from your do you think the Browns embodied, like the Stefanski regime embodies that right now? I feel like Myles Garrett does.
Yeah, I mean, they're always dogfights, right? Like we say this every year, like whether we think the Bengals are the better team or whether we think the Browns are the better team, we're always like, well, they're going to split. It doesn't
toss.
Like it happens every year.
And literally, the Bengals split with everyone this year.
The Browns have their struggles, right? Obviously, we know that's well documented. But even in a year like this year, where they, weren't playing their best football, they beat everybody in the division on their home field. You know what I mean? Like that's bad teams don't do that. It's just. The problem being in the Brown situation is when you're constantly going against these teams that are like, again, the Steelers winning record. It happened again. So that means somebody's going to have to lose.
But they did it again. So, I mean, from our perspective, that's obviously why they made the move for Deshaun, is because we're sick of sitting in the basement, which we're doing again. And you can believe Kevin Stefanski, they fired their defensive coordinator, which fans have been saying we needed to do in week 2. Now it'll be interesting to see because that defense this year was just a joke. This year, obviously, we know there's a lot of talent on the Browns roster. Yeah. Obviously Deshaun being out for 11 games is not going to benefit, but Brissett played well enough for that team to at least sneak into this playoffs. Like if the Browns were where the Dolphins are right now, I wouldn't be that surprised. I don't think they're that far off. It's just it's a tough division to compete in year after year, and they got to show that they can consistently do it. And I would probably tell you that the Browns are probably the weakest of the 4.
I think they're better than the Ravens going forward.
I think they're weaker though. Like the Ravens have moxie to them. They're the Ravens.
You're talking about mentality.
Yes,
you're talking about. Yes. I can appreciate that because I think Deshaun's mentality is probably a little rattled. He's gone to his own fault. Some would say.
Oh yeah,
gone through a lot mentally. I don't think it's easy to just snap back into that killer instinct when you've had to for the last 6, 9, 12 months put out a persona of I am a good person. When you're on a football field, you can't be. That's not the mentality. You need to have that that MJ drive.
Yeah, have that dog.
That dog. No pun intended, but yes, you need to have that dog in you. And I think that makes sense a little bit. Obviously, I think Stefanski has gone through a little bit of turmoil over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, with the whole Baker situation, having to get a new coordinators underneath him and things like that. So, yes, I get that. As far as the roster is concerned, I think the Browns are in a much better position than the Baltimore Ravens going forward.
I mean, they are because they have big names or skill guys at
better quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. But they're terrible in the defensive line outside of anyone named Myles Garrett, and their linebacking core is terrible as well. And frankly, the defensive schemes, I hope, is the problem with the secondary because again, there's big names out there. Denzel Ward is been a great cornerback, but he's been glass. When he's healthy, he's great, but the problem is his availability. Greg Newsome has been good. MJ Emerson has popped this year. I'm not too worried about that. The thing is you're constantly losing these seasons of Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb. Those are guys that can carry teams on offense or defense.
Sure.
And you're blowing them.
Yeah, you're in the prime of your marquee player's career and you're not capitalizing on it. That's I can see. I mean, obviously, I think Corey and I have been through that too. So you feel the frustration of that as a fan of your team when you watch the pieces, kind of the pieces of the puzzle should fit together, and then there's always they they just don't, and there's always just a storm somewhere that's brewing that you can't just seem to get away from.
You give Deshaun a full off season, obviously not suspended. Going to, I mean, at least God, you hope, right? Then if it still looks like this next year, that's when you're worried. I'm not worried about it yet.
Sure.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be. Yeah, I mean, I would just have loved to see the Steelers get in and the Lions get in. I think it would have made for the absolute perfect wild card weekend.
Yeah, I said that earlier. I think it's a shame.
Totally.
Obviously the Dolphins are coming in, bruised, battered, and bleeding. In the Seahawks, just I don't think that's a matchup that they can even touch. So
yeah.
It is divisional. We did say it.
Yeah.
It's not like we think it's going to happen, but same thing we said with the Ravens and the Bengals. You got to at least put that out there.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, chat. We're getting up on our 2-hour mark here. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thanks for all the love in the chat.
Quick note before we wrap, Bob. Rest in peace, Jeff Beck. Passed away today. 78. Jeff Beck, great music legend. So rest in peace, Jeff Beck. Just want to put that out there.
He died. Did he really die today?
Yeah, passed away today. Just now, probably an hour ago. Yeah.
No
Wow.
shit.
Yeah. I know.
Crazy.
Rest in peace. And if you like this hat right here, you like this Rally Tell Sports hat right here, we got a bunch of merch available. Go on our Twitter and Facebook. You can cop one too.
Absolutely. All right. Well, for everybody here, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Enjoy your wild card weekend. If your team is in it, good luck. And we will catch you guys next week. We'll be talking divisional round. So let's get after it.
Peace.